stole a key, took a car downtown where the lost boys meet, took a car downtown and took what they offered me.
From the poor people. And I've been here working my whole stinking career for people who don't have a chance. And I really resent anybody saying that I'm just doing this for the rich. Give me a break. I think you guys overplay that all the time, and it gets old. And frankly, you ought to quit it.
Mr. Chairman, the public...
I'm not through. I get kind of sick and tired of it. True, it's a nice political play.
Well, Mr. Chairman,
it's not true.
With all due respect, I get sick and tired of the richest people
Regular
in the
order,
country
Mr. Chairman.
getting richer and
Regular
richer.
order.
And
Order.
middle, we do a tax
Regular order.
middle class
Wait a minute.
Regular order.
and over and over again.
Wait just
How
a
many
second.
times do we do this before we learn this?
Listen, I've honored you by allowing you to spout off here. And what you said was not right. That's all I'm saying. I come from the lower middle class originally. We didn't have anything. So don't spew that stuff on me. I get a little tired of that crap. And let me just say something. If we worked together, we could pull this country out of every mess it's in. And we could do a lot of the things that you're talking about, too. And I think I've got a reputation of having worked together with Democrats.
Let's start with Chip.
Yeah, Senator Orrin Hatch, letting him have it.
Right.
Yeah. And we're going to ask Senator Jim Talent here about that exchange. I'm sure you heard it this week. But that was Senator Orrin Hatch from Utah, who does not get animated like that hardly ever. And he kind of had it with the talking points that are constantly being thrown around about things like tax cuts from the left. And his point was, look, if we would all work together on this and reform government in a good way, we'd have more GDP than we would know what to do with, and we could do some of these things that some of the Democrats and some of the moderates want to do. So, Welcome to the Tim Jones Show. Welcome back to the Tim Jones Show. And joining us now is the aforementioned former Senator Jim Talent, the Bipartisan Policy Council. Jim, good evening. Did you hear that exchange with Senator Hatch this week?
Yeah, I did. And, Orrin Hatch is a great legislator and a real gentleman, and I think he just had enough of people impugning his motives. And everybody knows him, knows it's not true, and he just blew up. And, when a guy who doesn't blow up very easily does, it has a real impact. So I was glad to hear it. He's been in the Senate a long time. He's done a lot of things, a lot of good things. He's trying to do one more good thing.
Right.
And, Sherrod Brown is an able person. I work with Sherrod on a number of things, and he's just Sparty. He's just, carrying water for his party, and I get that. But it would be nice if people debated the merits of these things instead of making these charges.
Right. And, Jim, I think it's a long clip that I played, but the whole clip is even longer. And Senator Hatch made the point at the end of that. He said, look, because he did say, hey, Senator, I like you as a person, but it was really unfortunate what you just did, because apparently Brown pulled that stunt right at the end of the debate and said something about Rich and the fat cats and all that. And Hatch was like, whoa. I've been working on tax reform my entire career. At one point he said, I've passed more bills for people in this country than all of you on this committee combined. So don't tell me that I'm doing this for some rich friend of mine that doesn't exist. And
the Democrats support corporate tax relief. I mean, they really do. They're not going to provide any votes for this bill, and I get that too, because there's a perception in Washington that if the Republicans don't pass this bill, it's kudos for them next November. So you get a political imperative, and you know what those are, Tim.
Yeah.
But Hatch just had enough, and like I said, when somebody who doesn't do that does it, it's particularly effective.
Right.
And he was right. I think it's a pretty good bill. I mean, we're not going to know until they get to the conference committee, particularly on the individual stuff, exactly what's going to happen. But I think it's shaping up pretty well.
So we're speaking to Senator Jim Talent. He's at Jim Talent. He is columnist for National Review online at NRO, and he's also a fellow, a senior fellow at Bipartisan Policy Council. That's at BPC /
I'm a fellow. I identify as a fellow.
A fellow, a good fellow. That's right. So, Jim, you've been through this before. You've been through these types of big legislative debates on something like a big animal like this. play this out for the listeners. What I think people sometimes get lost in the legislative maneuvering. What happens next?
Well, the Senate, I think, is going to pass this bill. I've been upgrading the chances of the bill passing in my own mind over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I didn't think the Senate would move as fast as they did in committee. Now, the Senate floor, they got to get to 50 votes. I'm betting they will. I don't think the odds are prohibitive, but I'm betting that they will. And then they'll go to conference committee and they'll adjust. There are a lot of areas of differences, as you know, between the two bills, but they address the same things. It's not like they're going to write some whole new thing. They're going to compromise, and I think they're going to get a bill. Now, I would have told you a month ago I'd be very surprised if they get one by Christmas, but I think the chances of that are improving. They seem to have really planned this one, unlike the Obamacare thing. So let's see what happens, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
And Jim, isn't the point of this bill, from what I've seen so far, it's to take some of the gamesmanship out of our very complex, complicated, slanted towards those people who can hire a lot of accountants and lawyers to figure their tax situation. It's take out some of the junk to make it a little more streamlined, and then hopefully set us up for this Congress to go back and do some serious, bigger reform, especially maybe in the entitlement area down the line.
That could come. The House has a lot of simplification. The Senate bill has less. I mean, I think of the bill as basically an attempt to get the economy moving through a combination of lowering certain personal rates and then also making us more competitive from a business perspective. Because, as you know, our corporate tax rate's one of the highest in the world. And if we lower it, we're going to get a lot of corporate profits brought back into this country and invested in this country. There's some other steps that they're doing. And I think the market is ready to go. I mean, I think the market's anticipating this. I think it wants to invest and grow in the United States. And that's what they're hoping for. A really robust economy would ease a lot of the tensions around the country and provide a lot of the opportunities that people have been missing. So that's how I think of it. Now, the House has got a bigger simplification piece to it, and they'll compromise on those issues in the conference. But I see it basically as let's get the economy moving.
Speaking to Senator Jim Talent, he's a policy fellow at the Bipartisan Policy Center and writes a great column often for National Review. Jim, I want to talk about something you and I talked about several weeks ago, and that's this Uranium One thing. And it was just kind of, you were on the front edge of that, and you pointed us to a great article by one of your colleagues, and we talked about it. We talked about how here's all the components of this scandal, and here's what someone could look into if they wanted to. Well, lo and behold, now we had the big news this week of the potential for someone looking into this, namely maybe a special prosecutor. Now, Jim, I'm kind of like Laura Ingraham on this. I don't know if we need a special counsel for this, that, and the other thing. That's why we have a Justice Department. But whether we do or not, it looks like this thing actually has some meat building around its bones, and it may have some legs.
Yeah, it might. The only argument for a special prosecutor is that Rosenstein, who's a deputy attorney general, was involved in a piece of this because he was running the investigation as the U.S. attorney for Maryland, which was slow walk, and eventually they pled the case out for a song. So there were three things happening here, Tim. We talked about this the last time. A Russian company was acquiring an American company that controlled a lot of our uranium assets, which is important from the standpoint of producing power. It's not so much a nuclear weapons thing, it's a nuclear power thing. Mm-hmm. The Russians play the energy game. That's part of their national security strategy. So that was happening. At the same time, a subsidiary of that Russian company was engaged in an extortion conspiracy in its contracts with a different American company, which would have given it leverage over that, did give it leverage over the company. The FBI knew about it because they had an informant on the inside who flipped. And, he didn't flip. He went and wore a wire for this. So they knew about all this going on. They did not tell the organization, which is supposed to pass on foreign transactions, foreign purchases of American companies that have national security implications. They didn't tell them that this was going on. And they didn't push the investigation. And the third element was that Rosatom was, through a lot of different agents, contributing enormous amounts of money to the Clinton Foundation. They were up to their eyeballs in dealing with this company. And so the issue is, was the Obama administration slow-walking and burying this investigation in order to protect the Clintons and not telling this government organization called CFIUS about it. Yeah, as Andy McCarthy said in that column I said to him, he said, this stinks. And,
right.
And I think so, too. And I'm glad. And I think that the Senate Judiciary Committee's going to get some witnesses on this as well. So, this is a story that's going to be around for a while, I think.
Well, yeah, and Jim, you see how, Hillary Clinton, maybe doth protest too much. It seems like she's commenting on everything every day now, and maybe a little, maybe against her own, her own interest, because, for the first time in 20 some odd years, neither her nor her husband do control any levers of power, and she seems to be a little nervous about all this. The fact that the government's really looking at her for once on this.
Well, that and the down in Brazil.
The bombshells, yes.
Yeah, the bombshell, I think, is a problem for her. So, yeah, I lost a couple elections. I won a whole lot more than I lost. But still, when you
Yes, you
lose, Tim, it's a good idea to go low-key for a while and then come back on particular issues that interest you, rather than commenting on everything that's happening. That's what I prefer to see her do.
Exactly. Hey, Jim, you got any? You working on anything over the holidays? Any articles coming up soon? People should keep an eye out for next.
We just issued our report at the U.S.-China Commission, and it's uscc.org for those who are interested in it. And I had some comments in that. And I think I'm going to do a column on, if we can increase the deficit to pass tax relief, and I think we should. Why can't we rebuild the military? I thought President Trump's trips, and we don't have time to talk about it, but I thought his trip to the Far East was a real success. I think it's a bigger success than people think.
Well, and isn't it amazing, Jim? The media just doesn't want to talk about it at all, and you're right. He's bringing back billions of dollars of American investment, and not a blip. That's
true, but the top line, in 30 seconds, Tim.
Yes, go ahead.
He's dictating the terms of discussion with the Chinese. That's what this is about, okay? So he's got the Chinese saying, yeah, the trade deficit is a problem. When he stands there in front of Xi Jinping and says, basically, you guys have been cheating for years and years. Now, it's not your fault because it's our fault for letting you get away with it. And Xi Jinping's nodding his head. I thought that was just brilliant. And the other thing, he's talking about trade, and he's talking about North Korea, and he's playing the carrot and the stick with them. They just cut off a Chinese bank. It's a small one, but it's a Chinese bank from the American financial system because they were involved with North Korea. So he's playing the carrot and stick, doing a bunch of different things, and got the Chinese to focus. Chinese are renormalizing their relationships with South Korea. I really think Trump is dictating the terms of debate, but what he needs to do is get our military power and presence in the region up. That's the missing link.
And we'll have you back to talk about that because I know that's one of your favorite topics, and I want to definitely get your thoughts on what you think this president's doing with the military and for them. But you're right. So much what you just said, he's not getting any credit for. But you know what?
I mean, this is the first time in years where the Chinese are not dictating what the top line of these discussions are about. And I think they're trying to figure out what to do. I loved his trip to Vietnam. That's very significant because the Vietnamese are at loggerheads with the Chinese. So there's a lot we could talk. Let's do it next.
Truly remarkable. Hey, Jim, you and your family have a great Thanksgiving this week.
Same to you, Tim.
Okay, have a great one. Thanks so much, Jim. We'll have you back soon. That was the great former Senator Jim Talent.
Wow.
At Jim Talent. Ken, I could listen to him all night.
I know.
The man's a genius. This is Tim Jones. We try to live up to such talent here at the Tim Jones Show. We'll be back with more and to wrap it up and talk about your Thanksgiving week ahead.
This is the Tim Jones Show.
For those who are telling me to shut up, they told Hillary that a couple of months ago. You know what I tell them? Go to hell.
On FM News Talk 97.1.